Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expected at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance version, released in 2003, basically based off from Donkey Kong Country back on the Super Nintendo. So even then, not much else to say about this for the most part. So last time, we essentially did manage to fully completely done with everything in terms of Vine Valley, and yeah, there's not much else to say about that either. So today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be moving on to the next world, which is of course, Gorilla Glacier. Now, unlike any forms of how it does it on the Super Nintendo version, that trying to able to actually access to a save point is actually very punishing during the forms in the Super Nintendo version, that basically you have to make your way to the halfway point in terms of the forms of this specific world. Whilst luckily, I think in during forms of the Game Boy Color version, as far as I can recall, including the Game Boy Advance version as well, you can now able to save your progress at any time, so no need to worry about just trying to complete the ridiculous amount of levels able to actually just to find your way to the save spot or anything else to be more specific. So even then though, that's the only quality of life improvements as far as this particular version does manage to contain and stuff like that. So even then though, enough about that specific little quality of life improvement changes or anything else like that. So either way though, let's get this thing to it. So before we dive right into the forms of the first level on this world, I just need to make sure I need to double check if there are certain photos I did somehow obtain, and especially noticeable about that specific point that, well, despite the fact that, relatively speaking, though, that the actual progression when it comes to obtaining certain photos might take a bit while to get used to, especially concerning about the specific objective based. So even then though, so yeah, let's begin with the forms of Snow Barrel Blast. So of course, this level is the most infamous for a lot of players out there, especially concerning about the specific point that, you know, this level does have a lot of barrel blasting portions of this level. Although, you know, like I said before, thankfully on the Game Boy Advance version, it's nowhere near as punishing as the Super Nintendo version, especially noticeable concerning with the save system as far as I've already pointed out from earlier. So either way though, let's get this thing to it, shall we? So, yeah, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that's what appears to be about the fact that today's date is, of course, the 24th of August today, in some cases in 2023 today. Naturally speaking, we are getting very close towards the end of August before we move on to the 9th month in 2023. That's, of course, September. So everything else though, not much else to write home about. Although, worth noting for is about the fact that we've only got about 6 more days to go until, you know, Mario Plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Rayman in the Phantom Show is going to be releasing. So even then though, still I'm very excited for it, and I'm sure most people already know about that as well. So even then, while this is happening though, it's about the fact that, do you guys even remember, since during the forms of in yesterday, that recently that Tiana's already explained about the forms of a lot of stuff recently, thanks to the forms of the Gamescom 2023 as far as that particular point in time. So as a result, about the fact that, you know, that Sonic Superstars is finally coming into in stores until specifically on the 17th of October, which still it's pretty insane that we're able to actually get not only a new 2D Sonic game, but a new 2D Mario game in exactly the same week as each other. So because of that though, the only difference being is that Sonic Superstars is going to be releasing on Tuesday, whilst meanwhile for Super Mario Bros. Wonder is obviously going to be on Friday. So yeah, which reminds me about the fact that why does it always have to be every Fridays in during forms of any other Mario games nowadays? Although, there's only one game exception to this though, that appears to be of course Mario Plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, because obviously that game came out during the forms of on Thursday, presumably speaking. Well, at least as far as I was going to be thinking about this anyway, so anyways though, so let's just go ahead and collect some more bananas here, including the O, just in case we don't able to mess that up, because if we somehow accidentally shoot at the bottom, then we guys able to keep on going back onto the forms of that same bonus area, just in case you can able to actually obtain one of the letters, presumably. So, whilst unlike in, Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze, that you only have one attempt for able to actually just get into those bonus areas, unless if you decide able to, punish your life and all that stuff, so everything else will be pretty much expectable too. So even then, I believe something tells me though is about the fact that I'm pretty much missing that particular bonus area. I was going to be able to be thinking about it anyway, so because that's the thing about the forms of the later levels these days, and that's what appears to be about the fact that I'm miles able to like go back to the other level as far as I've already completed on, and then basically though I have to able to keep on, doing a lot of backtracking moments here and there, to able to actually find certain bonus areas which it will be especially noticeable during the forms of not only the majority of this world, but also with the forms of the upcoming 5th world potentially. So everything else though, yeah. Now, in terms of the forms of Sonic Superstars, as far as what Tiana, she's obviously forgot to mention about, that's what appears to be about the fact that, well, much like the forms of how it does it on Sonic Colors Ultimate, and, Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Origins, and especially noticeable with Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, obviously it will decide able to announce there's going to be, as always, a digital deluxe edition, which actually also featuring some LEGO characters, which as a result, yeah, it seems about the fact that we can able to actually play as the LEGO counterparts of not only, I would say, Sonic the Hedgehog, but also with Tails, Knuckles, and Amy Rose, essentially. Although, relatively speaking though, they're all entirely based around for the forms of the modern Sonic's design, with the forms of the actual LEGO models and all that stuff. So, because I can definitely seemingly to say about the fact that, well, I should probably get some more details about this in a moment, because as you can tell, I'm just trying to able to focus here, just in case I really don't want to able to waste too many extra lives at this point in time, especially noticeable I'm still mainly trying to able to find certain bonus areas, but in fact, luckily, we did somehow manage to find one, so that should be all pretty good and all that stuff. And also, something's worth noting for us that these bonus barrels are actually based off from the actual sprites, based off from not only in Donkey Kong Country 2, but also with Donkey Kong Country 3 as well, so even then, I just want to keep this in mind. So, anyway, so we did somehow found not only all the Kong letters, but also with the forms of every single bonus areas on that particular tricky level. So anyways, let's move on to Slip, Slide, Slide. I think it's what it says anyway. Well, mind you, it's been about 2 days ago since I actually have last played this, because obviously about that specific point that, Tiana, she's almost getting very close towards the end in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe now. So, relatively speaking, it was about the fact that after this week has been fully completed, or should I say, once this week is actually going to be fully concluded, obviously about the fact that we'll have to able to change the uploading schedules for that point. So, even then, though. And also, short things worth noting for is about the fact that, like what Tiana, she's already explained about this before, that obviously I'm so excited about the fact that apparently, though, not only I'm the only one who's going to be excited for the forms of the 3rd DLC free update for Sonic Frontiers, but it looks like everyone else does as well. Especially, they most likely considered about the fact that they more, concerning about that specific special transformation that Sonic might able to actually turn into. Now, some people seem to say about the fact that it might be Super Sonic 2, but it might not likely, so it's going to be something else entirely. So, I suppose we'll find out and during at some point, as we said before, since until when it gets to the point until next month. So, yeah, that's what I can really think about it. So, anyway, in terms of the forms of some content that we're able to actually brings us into, for the sake of the forms of the Sonic Superstars game for the Digital Deluxe Edition, they actually include 5 stuff this time around, which I guess that's a good thing, especially concerning about the specific point that not only, well, it's most notably for its cosmetic department, so as a result of that particular stuff though is about the fact that they obviously did manage to bring some good amount of items here and there, unlike the forms of how it does it on Sonic Colors Ultimate, where only gives you is just the actual music pack for only one of the worlds in particular, which is of course Planet Wisp, and especially noticeable with the forms of certain file icons, for the sake of the forms of the Metal Sonic Racing and stuff like that, and on top of that with the forms of in-game cosmetic skins or something like that, but that's about it basically, so it's just for bragging rights, I suppose, despite the fact that if you really want to listen to the actual remixed music for the sake of Planet Wisp, you have to pay real money for it for its separate DLC, so even then though, and that could be also applies for the forms of, you know, for Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, whilst usually relatively speaking though, that you do get the exact same content or anything else like that. Well, mind you, it's been roughly about a few weeks ago since we've last played Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, but that's just because that Silver is still not ready to able to actually prepare to able to actually do the master difficulty based off from Super Monkey Ball 2 just yet. But I'm sure enough though, once he's do get enough practice for it, then I'm sure enough he's now going to be ready for it at some point in next month, potentially. Well, it's all about speculation at the moment for the sake of the forms of how these uploading schedules is about to be able to be more considering. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, and then also, unlike the forms of how it does it on Sonic Origins, that basically though, all it just gives you is just the actual island tour view, and especially noticeable with some extra missions, as well as the forms of those bonus coins you're going to be obtaining, and also get extra playable characters or something like that, or potentially speaking though, you're able to actually get mirror mode already unlocked from the start. So that's something, I suppose, but aside from that, with the extra characters in mind, it's just like false advertisement, because obviously it wasn't until when the Plus Edition rolls around, like better late than never, I suppose, kind of syndrome, that basically we do now finally manage to able to actually play as not only Knuckles in Sonic CD, but also with Amy Rose in all of the games basically, and same applies with all of those 12 Game Gear titles is also being playable as well, so that's something is worth noting for, I guess. So, anywho though, so let's just go ahead and, oh jeez, that was actually ridiculously close there. And unfortunately, the thing decides to lag a bit again, so I'm not too surprised. Especially concerning about the specific point that maybe it's something to do with the fact that it might be hard to handle with the pre-rendered graphics or something, but at least on the upside we did somehow found that specific camera, so that should be all swell. But anywho though, yeah, in terms of content in Journey Forms of Sonic Superstars, they did somehow include 5 different items. So as a result, those are Lego Fun Pack, which obviously, like I said before, it does manage to bring us into not only Lego Sonic as playable character, but also with Lego Tails, Lego Knuckles, and Lego Amy. So because of that though, that seems something. And I'm very looking forward to able to actually just try to presumably try to I'm not exactly sure if the DLC might be sold separately though, once the actual game came out or something like that. I suppose we'll might as well find out at some point in 2 months' time. So, and the next thing they obviously going to include, which there are, the Rabbit skin, which is actually more likely like a prototype kind of thing. So as a result, that does look pretty cool though, especially noticeable. It's almost like a concept from the sake of the forms of this early development cycle, for the sake of the forms of how before Sonic the Hedgehog was first begun, Journey forms of the actual development cycle or something like that. So even then though, yeah, that's a thing. And also they're able to actually get ourselves an exclusive mech parts for the battle mode, which by the way, the battle mode does manage to able to support online play, so at least if I was assuming so anyway, so even though that's actually pretty awesome potentially. And also that brings us into the forms of a digital art book and mini original soundtrack, and finally bonus main menu wallpapers, and that's about it basically. So even though the only thing I was really looking forward to when it comes to the forms of the digital deluxe content as far as this is concerned, that's what appears to be, of course, the Lego Fun Pack, because obviously I'm very curious to try out not only Sonic, but also Tails and Knuckles and Amy Lego variants, just to ensure about the fact that it makes things a little bit more an interesting experience when it comes to able to actually play as, you know, the LEGO counterparts of the 4 playable characters for that department. So, oh yeah, I should also mention about this as well, and that's what appears to be about the fact that apparently though, that originally though, that Sonic hacking contest was supposed to be able to actually take place in during the forms of in between the forms of the 16th of October all the way up to the 22nd of October. But apparently though, that particular thing is about to be delayed, most notably because of the forms of the Sonic Superstars release date. So because of this though, yeah, it might take a bit while able to actually just to get the actual release date going for I don't know what you expect at this point. So even then, oh, I should also mention about this as well, and that's what appears to be that the Game Awards in 2023 is expected to be happening at some point on the 7th of December. So because of this though, hopefully about that specific point that we will discuss more details about that particular topic at some point, possibly by the end of the year. So as a result for that particular matter though, that's all I can really think about it. And I just cannot wait to see how these specific little brief announcements they're able to actually bring us stuffing into. So even then though, we'll sure have to wait and find out. So anyways though, so we have to be able to get that O right there. But here's the thing, I need to find the well hidden passage, so just to ensure that, oh, there we go. So at the very least we did somehow manage to find this little invisible path, and that will pretty much lead us to the O right there. But then again though, there's no need to worry about the bonus areas in the underwater levels, unlike in Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, that obviously we have to keep on doing a lot of backtracking, exploration type of style. So even then though, yeah, that's what I can really think about it. Oh, and another thing too, and that's what appears to be about the fact that recently, that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has just received a yet another patch update. And this time what appears to be by the forms of version 1.2.1. So as a result, they did address some of the forms of certain issues, like for instance, they fixed an issue that sometimes caused the screen to flicker intensely when large amount of stamps were placed on the map. So yeah, that could be something. And also they fixed an issue that prevented players from obtaining the contents of treasure chests attached to Felix constructs, and when the treasure chest vanished as a result of the Felix constructs attacks. And if the treasure chest vanished, reloading the save data will either restore the treasure chest or cause the chest's content to automatically appear in your patch. And, or pouch, as far as what I was meant to say for this point. And also, if a certain event does not trigger when talking to Colton after collecting all of the bubble gems, and download this update data will fix it so that the event triggers. And finally, they fixed several other issues they have been addressed to improve the gameplay experience. And that's about it basically. So even then though, yeah, there's not much else to say about that particular other content wise. So, oh yeah, I should also mention about this as well, and that's what appears to be about the fact that it looks like that the Nintendo Switch firmware update is now on to version 16.1.0. I'm not exactly sure what updates does it bring us something into, because mind you, I haven't exactly played my Nintendo Switch for quite a few days, especially concerning about the specific point that hopefully exponentially that Tiana will able to actually finish up the rest of the forms of the final few contents for the likes of the forms of, you know, Kirby's Return to Dreamlands Deluxe before we move on to the next couple of games Let's Play wise. So, anywho though, so, and there's also another thing that's worth noting for is that the Sea of Stars is about to be getting a physical release at some point on the Nintendo Switch. What I meant to say is that it's going to be coming out on the Nintendo Switch, what I meant to say. And it was supposed to be released at some point in early 2024 for likely also for January, February, March, or anything else like that. So, yeah, at the very least, that it's pretty nice to see that Sea of Stars is getting a physical version. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool and everything. Oh, and another thing as well well, and that's what appears to be out of nowhere. We're actually getting ourselves the third Turok game is going to be coming out on the Nintendo Switch, which as a result is actually based off on the likes of the forms of the N64 game, which it did originally came out during that time or something like that, which as a result, about the fact no matter what though, they're going to be releasing a remastered version of Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion. So because of that though, it is expected to be coming on the Nintendo Switch at some point also in November, except the fact that it's going to be releasing on the 14th of November. So usually it takes place on Tuesday, so that's going to be about 3 days before the Super Mario RPG remake, including, you know, Atari 2600 plus. So yeah, that's quite a lot of releases during that period. So, oh, I should also mention about this as well, I guess, and that's what appears to be about the fact that there's also a, let's just say a 1995, or should I say 1995 game called Goblins Warriors is about to be making its return on the Nintendo Switch, apparently. So, yeah, I have no comments from there. And also another thing as well is that it appears to be that Little Nightmares 3 has recently been announced. So as a result, I've got no comments from that point either, but that's just because I definitely heard about these specific mini Nightmare games or anything else like that, but it's just about the fact no matter what though, it's not my cup of tea. So even then though, I'm just curious to know about the fact that what these release dates might actually contain. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. Alright, so here we go on to Ice Age Alley. So I think we do need to use you know, Espresso right there, so just in case we can able to go ahead and find certain bonus areas for that matter, specifically the second one most likely. So even then though, chances are though that might be saying something when it comes to able to keep a hold of him, at least and ever since in back in Junior Forms of in Orangutan Gang, that we basically did the same thing, except we did only found 2 bonus areas for just with Espresso the Ostrich basically, whilst usually for the other 3 bonus areas on that level Orangutan Gang, that basically we had to utilize the barrel so many times. So anywho though, so yeah, it's nice to see the third entry in the series when it comes to Little Nightmares game series did somehow came to its existence. So, and there's also another thing it's worth noting for, and that's what appears to be that it looks like we're about to be getting a new game coming out for it when it comes to Star Wars stuff. That's what appears to be by the forms of a good old classic PC title, or should I say, both PC and PlayStation title called Star Wars Dark Forces is finally getting its remastered treatment, and it's going to be developed by the forms of Night Dive Studios, and that's going to be coming out on not only on the Nintendo Switch, but also about the specific point that is also going to be releasing on not only on the PlayStation 5, but also on Xbox Series X/S. So, however though, there's no release date for that just yet though. That's just because they need to able to work on, you know, so hard when it comes to able to try to polish the game or something like that. So, yeah, that's what I really think about it. Oh, apparently though, as far as what Tiana, she completely forgot to mention about, during the course of the forms of, you know, for the likes of the forms of that conversation about the forms of Mario Kart Tour stuff, apparently though, that she forgot to mention about this one last new thing that's actually introduced during the forms of in the summer tour. That's what appears to be, of course, another balloon design, and this time what appears to be by the forms of a fire flower, basically. So even then though, and aside from all that stuff though, that's what I could really talk about in terms of Mario Kart Tour content-wise. Now, as far as everything else goes, there's actually a new release date is going to be set for the sake of the forms of Steam World Build. That game is going to be releasing in June at some point in December, so yeah, that's that. And also, it's about the fact that it looks like that not only it marks the 20th anniversary of the English version of Sonic X, released in 2003 essentially. So yeah, happy 20th anniversary of Sonic X for, let's just say, the English version, presumably speaking. And also, this marks also the 20th anniversary of Mike Pollock became a voice actor for Dr. Eggman. So because of that though, yeah, it just feels pretty insane to able to actually decide able to look back on the forms of certain other aspects. So yeah, pretty cool, and especially noticeable, it's still good about the fact that Mike Pollock is still going to be voice acting Eggman for like, you know, almost 20 years or so. So even then though, that's actually pretty impressive, especially concerning he's the most iconic voice for not only trying to voice with Dr. Eggman in most of the Sonic games anyway, well, a lot of Sonic games essentially, but the only oddest thing about it is that during the forms of it not only in the original Sonic Riders, but say plus with Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, that for whatever reason, whenever you try to able to play as Eggman, during the course of those two games combined, that basically if you do manage to able to participating in a race with him, basically for whatever reason it does have certain familiar voice clips based off from Dean Bristow, which as a result, it just feels kind of weird. I'm not exactly sure if the forms of Sonic 3 Riders also does that, mind you, because I still have not able to actually experience Sonic 3 Riders, so luckily I don't have to necessarily, just because it does manage to able to ruin the entire control scheme experience. Although, every once in a while, certain fans out there are also expecting to able to try to make the game even a lot better on the actual PC emulation or something like that, which I suppose that's a good thing. Well, despite the fact that the in-game UI still pretty much shows up the actual the body UI and stuff like that, so it's kind of feels a bit weird at points, but relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that at the very least it's nice to be able to actually have a nice little reconstructed version of Sonic 3 Riders. Well, it's only on the actual emulator, not so much in the forms of the newer consoles during that period, so... Oh yeah, I should also talk about this as well, and that's what appears to be about the fact that, well, it seems recently about that specific point. Do you guys even remember about the forms of how PlayStation reveals the actual code name for the actual special accessory called, let's just say, the PlayStation Project Q? Well, as it turns out, it did somehow reveal the finalized name for it. That is gonna call it PlayStation Portal. So because of that though, yeah, everyone keep on saying about the fact that PlayStation Portal is basically the Wii U gamepad equivalent to the PlayStation kind of thing. So, although what I meant to say is the PlayStation equivalent to the Wii U gamepad. Although, some people seem to say that it's actually a little bit better than the actual Wii U gamepad itself or something. Well, mind you, I wouldn't exactly explain any of this specific stuff clearly, but that's just because about the fact that at this point in time, that at the very least it's an accessory rather than the actual game system or something like that. So relatively speaking though, it seems it's pretty weird able to actually have ourselves the forms of that similar formation as the forms of how it does it for not only for the Wii U, but maybe the Nintendo Switch or something like that. Well, mind you, I will admit though, I do apologize for my comment take is a little bit slightly iffy at this point today, but that's just because, well, I don't suppose if you noticed, but every time when I was trying to speak up during the forms of the commentary, for whatever reason, my neck just feels a bit kind of weird at points, which as a result, I do need to take myself a bit too easy at some point, especially concerning if we go back onto Super Mario RPG, for the sake of the forms of the, this weekend coming up, for potentially speaking for both Saturday and Sunday essentially. So even then though, I do need to able to take myself a bit too easy just to like commentating and stuff like that. So even then though, yeah, that's what I can really think about it. So here we go on to the actual treetops environment level or anything else like that. So everything else though we'll come to expect. I'm just really hoping that the actual lag will not hinder my progression, because if it does attempt to lag every once in a while, I do apologize for this point folks as well, especially concerning about the specific point that it gets really annoyingly consistent, especially noticeable in some situations like this one, that basically though I just keep on messing up with the actual not only the jumps, but also with the movement and the momentum as well. So Oh well, no big deal, but at the very least we can able to actually still save our progress after all, so that's something I suppose. But anywho though, yeah, not much else to say. So, even though I've already explained about quite a number of things for this point, especially concerning about the specific point that, it seems about the fact that we've almost nearly at the end of, the summer season especially as well. So, yeah, time flies, you know, especially concerning of all that particular, discussions to have, and especially concerning about the specific point that, you know, it's pretty nice able to have, you know, 2 Sonic things, during the forms of this year, potentially. Or technically speaking, 3, Sonic stuff, if you're expecting for something. Because obviously it does come, oh wait a second, that we ended up in 4 things related to Sonic the Hedgehog for the sake of the forms of in 2023. So it's been like the forms of 2022, except the fact that at the very least we are able to actually get ourselves the, not only the new season for Sonic Prime, but also with the forms of, you know, plus expansion thing for the sake of the forms of Sonic Origins, and especially noticeable with the forms of, Sonic Superstars, a brand new game, and especially noticeable with the forms of the 3rd, or potentially speaking, tons of free update DLC departments for Sonic Frontiers. So, like we already know for a fact that we've already been through the first one, which appears to be back in the forms of in spring, and the second one being on the summer, and now we're getting the 3rd one, which is about to be releasing at some point in autumn. So, everything else though, yeah, I think for the most part is that Sonic Frontiers will be almost come to a complete finish during that time. So, yeah, it seems pretty cool and awesome at the same time. So, anyways, here we go with the falls to the next level, where we able to actually notice there's actually Squawks the Parrot right there. That pretty much helps you to able to see what's beyond in this darkness cave. So, and presumably this level does have 2 bonus areas if I recall correctly. So. And also, one of the con letters, specifically G, is going to be locked out behind the bonus area. So hopefully we'll try to find that. So, and this way it gets the actual platforming segments. Feels a little bit difficult at one point, but hopefully we'll try to able to get the hold of the barrel and burst down from here to find the first bonus area right here. And sure, we'll go after the extra life, so that should be all pretty swell. It seems that we're getting very close to the maximum of 99 extra lives at this point, especially concerning about the specific point that, again, it's pretty easy to get extra lives, you know? Alright, so just got to make my way very carefully and make sure we don't fall off to a bottomless pit, because otherwise it will be pretty painful if we do somehow manage to able to stumble across for that. And also, worth noting for, always make sure you switch over to Donkey Kong instead of Diddy Kong, because obviously with tougher enemies that we did somehow already avoid, basically though it's about the fact that Donkey Kong can do a lot of hard work, whilst unlike Diddy Kong, that obviously he might have a lot of trouble with, so. Alright, how do I suppose to get that G up, right up there? I know it does require a bit of a well-timing bounce for that particular tire, but hopefully we'll able to not get munched by that particular crab trap right there, so. Especially noticeable if you're concerning about the fact that it's still a pretty dark room, so. Oh jeez, that was close. Oh, okay, there we go. So at the very least we did somehow succeed right there, so I think I'm also able to get munched by the forms of that crab trap right there. And not only that, there's also another camera in here somewhere, so even then, at the very least we did somehow obtain that, so. There we go. It actually, surprisingly enough, it only took me about 1 attempt for that level, strangely enough, so. Anyways, let's go ahead and double check on the actual level progression here, especially concerning with all the scrapbooks that we did somehow also want to double check on that as well, so. But again, if I ended up missing a couple of those cameras, let me know in the comments down below, because I really want to know about the fact that where they are, so. Oh, and I should also mention about the fact that speaking of something camera related, someone said in the comment section down below, during the course of the Kirby's Return of Dreamland's Deluxe playthrough, that he did say about the fact that, are we gonna do new Pokemon Snap? Well, here's the only thing about this is that if you're following through my channel for a long amount of time, since in 2021 or anything else like that, basically though, we used to have new Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo Switch, but unfortunately though, we no longer have that game for some time, especially concerning that, well, what we're supposed to do is that, potentially speaking, it's probably best if we wait for a little while until God knows if the Switch lifespan is about to be almost gonna conclude. So, yeah, unfortunately though, I don't think I can probably do new Pokemon Snap anytime soon, especially concerning about the specific point that, you know, we're still aiming for, you know, multiple, ways of able to actually just try to get this process going, and especially noticeable if God knows if when does the Nintendo Switch lifespan is about to end before they moved on to a next generation of consoles. So that's the thing about this is in some cases though, so even then no, yeah, I just want to classify that already from the start. So yeah, there's the 4th boss right there. It's basically exactly the same boss fight as the first boss fight, except a little bit harder, especially now he does manage to drop those little, like, spiky stuff from the ceiling, so even then no. But still pretty easy though, especially noticeable that his movement speed is all that pure and simple. So with that said, we're going to ending off this point right here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance version. That's what appears to be, we're going on to the 5th world, which appears to be Kremkrok Industries Incorporated. So yeah, this will be an interesting experience, so I'll see you guys until on Monday. Later, fellas.